Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She did not get flame pots. She just got lights and smoke. And by the way, they started counting her 15 minutes before she ever started talking. She's wasting her time wandering. She is in no hurry. There's like, what?
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
morning, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Wait a minute. This was in the morning on a Sunday? I hope everyone went to church first. I'm getting the feeling they didn't.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you. Well, some of you might have seen that I was on 60 Minutes. It's not a show that I usually watch, but I was on there. And one of the things that Leslie Stahl could not understand was why I called the Democrat Party the party of pedophiles.
Yeah, especially considering the huge number of Trump campaign officials busted for child pornography. Campaign. Remember this guy? Hold on one second. An informal advisor to Donald Trump's 2016 campaign who testified in the Mueller probe pleaded guilty Monday to charges of child sex trafficking and possessing child pornography. Remember that dude? Yeah, George Nader, everybody. How about, let's see. Let's see. Adam Hagman, 25. A Trump Commerce Department official has been jailed since November on federal charges of receiving and possession of child pornography. Is accused of sharing child porn and video commenting several times on sexually abusing children. Is captured in graphic messages in the online chat. According to this, at the time, a federal employee, Hagman had been posting a chat according to a pretrial detention memo. Prosecutor charged that he was an active participant, often soliciting these things. Let's see if Hagman was taken. Homeland Security agents executed a warrant at his Washington home on November 12th. According to a complaint, at which point Hagman stated that he had been saving it on his and provided officers with a password to access the content on his phone. He also told authorities he downloaded it as recently as the day before and admitted to using an unnamed app to access and download videos. The complaint says he was taken into custody the next day. His phone contained at least 33 videos that appeared to contain sexually explicit depictions of children, including prepubescent children. An attorney listed for Hagman declined to comment on the ongoing case. Let's see. Hagman is the most recent political operative arrested on federal charge. In February, authorities arrested and charged Ruben Verastegui, a former Senate Republican staffer, with similar offenses. Details in both men's arrest warrants suggest they were participants in the same group that investigators began looking at in June. That would be, I guess it's not a Democratic group. According to both Hagman and Verastegui's warrants, investigators discovered a group of at least 18 individuals who were trading child pornography on a particular website that remains unnamed in the complaints because they're still busting people on it. And this guy worked for Trump, and then this guy worked for Senate Republicans as a staffer. So let's see. What would be the other reason? Let's see. I need to check something real quick. There's got to. I'm sure there's a. Let's see. Ex-RNC staffer gets more than 12 years in prison in child porn case. That's the Vestigui guy. So he got the time. There you go. Seeing a Maryland delegate for Trump, charged with. There you go. Maryland delegate for Trump charged with child pornography and possession of illegal gun and explosives. Child porn gun charges for Trump delegate. All right. Obviously, how many of you have been a presidential delegate? Like the level of dedication that you'd have to sign up for seems rather high, wouldn't you say? Let's see. let's see, Trump's Oklahoma campaign chair to plead guilty to child sex trafficking. Ralph Shorty is said to plead guilty to child sex trafficking for soliciting sex from a 17-year-old male. Let's see, what else? None of these drag queens, by the way. I would just like to, it's important to point out, if I might. Let's see, former Trump, there's Vestigui again. Let's see, yeah, there's George Nader. This is another one. This would be the, oops, I gotta move this page. Hold on a second. Natural places, the Groves. I'm looking at, I don't know, for person one. There we go. Capitol Police. Yeah, here you go. This guy's probably one of the worst, I would say. Former RNC aide sentenced to 12 years for requesting video of babies. Yeah. Former senior aide, I think this might be, Ruben Verestegue of Washington, D.C., former aide to the Republican National Committee, who called the sexual abuse of babies his absolute favorite. Yeah, he's the guy who said, like, seeing somebody sexually abuse a baby and kill it was his favorite, and he gets excited just thinking about it. And he was not kidding. Let's see, potential jump ahead of this. So, anyways, please continue.
Yeah. So I've written a little explanation to help explain for those that can't see it and don't understand.
What don't I understand? What am I missing? What don't I understand?
Why I say the Democrat Party is the party of pedophiles.
Yeah, I would like, just for the record, Trump did not turn him in. Just saying. This guy got busted because the Mueller investigation arrested him for trying to fuck off, and there was a, let's see. Yeah, so they were looking into Nader because of the Mueller investigation. So can we just say, for the record, this is, let me go on the record. Let me fit this in here. Okay. Explicit videos depicting the sexual abuse of toddlers were discovered on George Nader's phone, a advisor to Trump during his transition, his campaign. In January 2018, 2 years after it, he'd been working and interacting with the Trump crowd this entire time. But Trump knows all the best people, and he knows everybody, and he knows everything about everybody, and he knows more about the monsters than the monsters do themselves. When FBI agents examined the devices as part of their probe into Russian election meddling. So, for the record, say what you will about the Mueller investigation, Marge, but it caught a pedophile that was working with Trump.
But I've done it in a little bit of a style that many of you in the room will recognize, and it's going to be sort of like a tribute to Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh, God. What? You know you're a pedophile when? Sort of a tribute. You mean a bastardization?
You might be a pedophile.
Fuck you. All right, I'm done. That's... Jesus Christ. just okay. The flippant nature by which she goes after this and just kind of attributes it to a giant party of human beings, Democrats in general, not individuals who do this, not, pedophiles as a group, but a group as pedophiles. And so literally just kind of shrugging it off and thinking it's cute. Look at the look on her face. This is like, I have this adorable pedophile bit. By the way, she backed a guy for House Speaker who has voted and courted the votes of Democrats, has voted with and has courted the votes of Democrats. So what does that make Kevin McCarthy? Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the linchpins in Kevin McCarthy becoming the Speaker of the House. So if Kevin McCarthy reaches agreements with Democrats to pass bills, and Marjorie Taylor Greene supported Kevin McCarthy for his bid to be Speaker to do that very thing, and Democrats are pedophiles, then what's her job now? Oh, yeah, we can get into Roy Moore and Dennis Hastert and Mark Foley. Remember Mark Foley? Remember that guy? Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Whatever happened to Mark Foley? Foley resigned from Congress on September 29, 2006, acting on a request by the Republican leadership after allegations surfaced that he had sent suggestive emails and sexually explicit instant messages to teenage boys who had formerly served and were at the time serving as congressional pages. That's, if you'll recall, let me show you. This is the most fucked up part of it, too, is Republicans put Mark Foley on the Committee for Missing and Exploited Children. And this is him with John Walsh from America's Most Wanted, whose son, Adam Walsh, was killed by a pedophile. Decapitated. And this guy arranged for himself to be on a committee dealing with missing and exploited children as effectively cover so that he could do it. That's Mark Foley, Republican House representative from 1994 to 2006. This picture is from 2005. Never mind. How about Jim Jordan? Let's see, while we're getting dark in this business. So this is Ohio State wrestler says Rep. Jim Jordan asked him to deny abuse allegations. Ohio representative, former Ohio State University wrestling coach Jim Jordan aided and abetted in the university's cover-up of sexual abuse within the program, a former team captain said in front of Ohio State legislators on Wednesday. Jim Jordan called me crying, groveling, begging me to go against my brother, begging me, crying for a half an hour, DeSabato said Wednesday. That's the kind of cover-up that's going on here. Adam DeSabato, captain of the team during the early 1990s, told members of the Ohio House Civil Justice Committee that Jordan and other officials ignored former Ohio State doctor Richard Strauss's sexual abuse of wrestlers from 1979 to 1997. DeSabato said that Jordan and other team officials knew about open shower facilities that facilitated sexual harassment and abuse of team wrestlers. Jordan has previously denied the allegation. Wednesday's testimony is a part of a hearing on legislation that would permit survivors of Strauss's abuse to sue the university for damages. Currently, the statute of limitations disallows them from doing so. A university study found that Strauss abused at least 177 people during his tenure as the wrestling team's doctor. Strauss was never charged and died by suicide in 2005. That picture I showed you of Mark Foley, 2005. The year Mark Foley was serving on the Committee for Missing and Exploited Children. Former Rep. Mark Foley was first elected to the House of Representatives in 94. In his May 2000 file video, Foley, stands behind John Walsh, host of TV's America's Most Wanted, at a press conference announcing plans to overhaul sex offender laws. He wanted to be there when they marked it up. Now, I think the last one, Hastert, is I think one of the gnarliest ones. He was the longest serving House Speaker ever. Does he still hold that? Yeah, I think so. Yorkville, Illinois. Here we go. There. Move this over here and shrink this down for you. Former U.S. House Speaker Denny Hastert and a man who accused him of child sexual abuse reached a tentative out-of-court settlement on Wednesday over Hastert's refusal to pay the man $1.8 million in the outstanding balance in hush money that the Illinois Republican agreed to pay the man in 2010. Lawyers would not release details of the settlement. Arrived at just before the days of the civil trial. In the case that was set to start, it would have focused on a novel legal issue about whether Hastert's verbal agreement to pay $3.5 million to buy the silence of a man he abused as a teenager amounted to a legally binding contract. The irony that Hastert told this guy when he was underage that he would pay him $3.5 million to shut up, and the way he was trying to get out of it was the guy wasn't old enough to sign a contract. The man has been referred to only as James Doe in court papers since the breach of contract lawsuit was filed in 2016. The hush money deal would eventually lead to a federal criminal case against Hastert 5 years later and to public disgrace for the GOP stalwart, who for 8 years as House Speaker was second in line to the succession of the presidency. In the federal case, prosecutors said Hastert sexually abused at least 4 male students between the ages of 14 and 17 throughout his years at Yorkville High School. Hastert was in his 20s and 30s. Federal prosecutors said during criminal proceedings that the hush money deal was voluntarily entered into and that the victim never sought to blackmail Hastert that he'd go to public with the abuse. The abuse happened when the victim was a high school wrestler. And the now 79-year-old Hastert was his coach. Hastert paid $1.7 million over 4 years, but stopped the payments after the FBI questioned him in 2014 about illegally concealing huge cash withdrawals from his bank. I can't pay you right now. The FBI's wondering where all the money's going. After Hastert pleaded guilty to a banking charge and was sentenced to over a year in prison. Whoops. In 2016, he couldn't be charged with sexual abuse because the statute of limitations had run out. After Hastert's sentencing, the victim sued for breach of contract to force Hastert to pay the outstanding $1.8 million. Kendall County Judge Robert Pilmer announced that the trial was off on Wednesday afternoon during a hearing scheduled to discuss the logistics of jury selection, which was supposed to begin Monday. Now, obviously, the selection of jury, I don't know what you pay to lawyers to try and beat something like that, but it's probably in the millions of dollars or the hundreds of thousands at least. And good Lord, after sitting and let's say I don't want to pay this guy. Fuck him. I'd rather sit in front of a jury and let him tell people what I did. Good Lord. Asked for the resolution of civil cases, a code over a long, arduous journey for the client. It's never over for a victim of childhood sexual abuse. It impacts them for the rest of their lives. I agree. That's why it should be a capital offense, even though I don't believe in the death penalty. I think they should go away forever. The questions raised during 4 years since the suit was filed. Let's see. I don't know if there were other people going after him at the same time. So, for the record, Marge, it's gross. It's nothing to be flippant about, and your party's history with it is some of the worst ever. This and somebody was just saying, Al, do Jim Nolan. That's this guy. Hold on one second. Former judge Tim Nolan sentenced to 20 years. You made me lose hope, one victim told him. The graphic details of ex-judge Tim Nolan's crimes unfolded as letters from his victims were read. The Tari letter said, sat in a gray suit and leg shackles or whatever. Former school board member and longtime Republican activist. Nolan sat silently as prosecutors read the anguished words of women he coerced into having sex. I was forced to stay in his apartment in Alexandria and was told if I ever left, he would call the police and I would go back to jail because I was on the run. I ended up turning myself in because jail was better than one more second spent with Tim Nolan. Nolan, 72, will serve 20 years in prison for human trafficking and must register as a sex offender for life if he gets out at 92. A judge decided on Friday he'll be eligible for parole in 4 years. It was all part of a plea agreement Nolan agreed to in February before he tried to back out of the deal a month later. Judge Kelly Lapp wouldn't allow Nolan to back out on Friday. The threats and abuse end today. Tim Nolan knew vulnerability when he saw it. Nolan's brash style made him one of the more visible campaigners for President Trump in northern Kentucky. Though since his arrest, many in the campaign publicly question his claim of heading the campaign in Campbell County. This has been one of the oddest cases I've ever seen, Lapp told the courtroom as she started the sentencing on Friday. Mm-hmm. You what now? Should we do the just go hashtag not a drag queen on Twitter and see the rest of these assholes? See all their Trump gear in the background? Let me explain something, folks. This kind of behavior has no political affiliation. But when one party pretends that the other does it more than the other, more than they do themselves, and uses it as cover or brandishes it as a weapon instead of saying both groups, all groups, should expunge people like this for the long haul, forever and ever and ever. And then, especially in the case of Marge, making it sort of too cute by half. What she's saying is that that it's only bad when it's Democrats, which maybe explains why there seems to be such a broad, cultivated, actual culture of pedophilia in the Republican Party structure. RNC staffers, campaigners for Donald Trump, busted multiple ones of these guys busted for child sex trafficking, child abuse, child pornography. And and again, in case it needs to be said to clarify, anybody engaged in this kind of shit, go straight to jail and fucking stay there. I don't want this idea that anybody with multiple rape victims, even if they're adults, gets out of jail is insanity. If they're children, forget it. Goodbye. The long haul. I don't care. And this keeps coming up every time Epstein's client list shows up. As you know, the multiple copied fake picture of the list that shows up online every so often. And everybody's like, look who's out there. Look, if they actually hung out with him and did those things, I don't care if I thought they were correct about anything in the past. Goodbye. I'm done. Now, that doesn't matter. I can like the ideas that somebody was pretending to espouse, but that doesn't mean that their lack of honesty about espousing those ideas is a reflection on the ideas themselves. And I don't put that my faith wasn't in that person or that human being if they were a liar and wearing some sort of horrifyingly thin mask. That said, making a bunch of like cute, you're a pedophile if jokes when your own party are this'll okay. Let me put the final pin in this. Two things. We put this right side by side. Okay. Because you can, beyond Trump partying with Epstein, you guys have seen those pictures. And so some people can say, well, that was a long time ago, and I didn't really, hang around with somebody like that, and how can you say that? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Um, this is a picture of Marjorie Taylor Greene with Nick Fuentes at the America First PAC conference, which he founded, and she spoke there. And he led the crowd in chants for Vladimir Putin, and she was there, and she spoke, and they hung out, and there's a bunch of pictures of them hanging out. Okay, we're clear. Good, right? Okay, but this is not second tier. This didn't happen 5-10 years ago before she knew what he was about. Blah blah blah. Right? She's sitting there making, you're a pedophile jokes. Okay. Cut to, this is, when was this? This is, what's the date on this? This is February 2022 is when he did this. And they've hung out. And Trump, by the way, had lunch with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West. This is this week. Fuentes talks on tape about his ideal wife's age. Plus, military advisor Mark Alasko explains why the U.S. decision is... Okay, this is from a podcast that they did. Nick Fuentes knows the ideal age he'd like for his future wife to be, and it's 16 years old. He says this in a recording. In a video clip tweeted out by the account Right Wing Watch and played on the show for Andy and Danielle, Fuentes says on the show, on a show called As Fuck, AF, that when he turns 30, he'd like to find a wife who is 16. If I'm 30 and she's 16, 14-year age difference. When I'm 50, she'll be 36. When I'm 40, she'll be 26. Then now we're talking here. Now we're cooking with gas, he says in a longer rant. He also says women don't age like wine, they age like milk. How is he not jail, said Danielle. Right. The reaction to it is because you can't jail somebody for just saying something. But the truth is he's telling you who he is. So this woman, that's Nick Fuentes, who says his ideal wife is 16 years old. And that's Marjorie Taylor Greene at his conference last year. And that's updated July 16th, 2023. Just to clarify, I mean, if you're not going to have, two standards, why have any standard at all? Yeah, why your wife fetching? He's an incel. He doesn't have an ideal wife. Well, that's the other thing. It's again, this is to some degree, him just, being a shitlord, an online shitlord. That doesn't quite matter. Yes, 16-year-olds are children. Agreed. And again, that's disgusting on its own. But the irony that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who hung out with that dude, and that dude had lunch with Kanye and Trump at Mar-a-Lago on the grounds, was not vetted ahead of time. Wait a minute, isn't that the guy who praised Vladimir Putin? I can't even have that guy in there. Little did he know, a couple weeks later, he'd go, I want to marry a 16-year-old when I'm 30. How about Republicans wanting the age for girls to marry to be 16? Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Dave Foley, yeah, Mark Foley is the bad guy. Dave Foley is from Kids in the Hall. Don't confuse the two. Dave Foley's lovely. 16 is too young. It should be 18, 19. Yes, I agree. So the point is that it's all a farce. That methinks the skank doth protest too much. Doth detest too much. So, ew. On that note, I have to go wash my whole self. I need to go, soak myself in a tub. And I adore you guys. Thanks for helping me get through this. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. Good Lord, he's gross. And at some point, I guess, yes, it is ongoing. I agree. I think we all yes. Everybody go take a bath right now. I don't ask often, but I mean it when I say it. Yes, everybody go hose yourself down in a good way because I adore you. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And remember in context who these people are. When people are like, I don't know, I think Joe Biden might be. I just don't like the whole because I thought student loan forgiveness was like you know what I'm saying? And you're talking to them and you're going, yeah, but what about the kidney? Hmm?